yoga and acting graduate from Los Angeles, California.
And I'm Katie DeLessio, a dramatic writing senior from Elgin, South Carolina. We are honored to present today's extraordinary artists. Every year, SCAD and Entertainment Weekly present these awards to artists making highly deserved breakouts into the cultural spotlight through inspiring performances. As students, we look to this group for guidance, and today we have the joy of hearing from them together. As a reminder, following the conversation, please remain seated until our panelists have exited the stage.
Now, are you ready to meet our 2025 Breaking Big Award honorees? From Freakier Friday and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Julia Butters.
From The Last of Us, Uncharted, The 100, and You, Tati, Gabrielle.
From Kiss of the Spider-Woman, Carry On, and Vita, Tonatiuh.
From The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox and Tell Me Lies, Grace Van Patten.
From him, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Atlanta, Tyriq Withers.
And our moderator, Entertainment Weekly Editor-in-Chief, Patrick Gomez.
Hello, how are y'all doing? Well, I'm so thrilled. Entertainment Weekly has had a long history with SCAD Savannah Film Festival, and I'm so excited to continue that tradition of our Breaking Good panel with these fantastic panelists. Every year when we were putting this together, you always have that worry of, oh God, are we gonna get as good a lineup as we did last year? And every year we top ourselves. So just so happy to have you all here. We're gonna start off with an origin story question, really. We're here obviously at a school where there's a lot of students that are very passionate about the arts, but all of you obviously got very passionate about the arts at some point, and I'd love to go down the line starting with you, Julia, and hear a little bit about when you realized, oh, I really enjoy acting, and then the second part of that question is, when did you realize I could make a career out, like I want to do this beyond playing pretend in the backyard or doing a school play?
Exactly. Well, I always played pretend with like my dad, and we would play over and over again, and I would always want to do the same thing over and over again. And I used to lie and say my aunt was a producer on Criminal Minds. It was my mom's friend that we considered an aunt, and she was just like, hey, this is crazy last minute. We need someone 4 years old to play kidnapped in Criminal Minds. Do you think she'd be down to play pretend for a while? And I did it, and that was gonna be it. And then I said, oh wait, I really love this, I wanna do this again. And my parents were like, now we have an actor. So that was kind of like the first step, and I just got really lucky from there.
How about you, Tati?
How do I make this story short? I was a very imaginative kid. I played pretend a lot by myself. I had two older siblings that thought that I was too sensitive, and so they didn't want to play with me. And then I went to performing arts school in Oakland, California. And at first, I think it was, for me, a way of understanding people. Like, I used to do a lot of people watching when I was a kid too, and I was so fascinated by people, and that every person could be different and have different tips and tricks. And around like 10th grade, that like sort of hobby or just sort of fascination turned into a love and a passion for theater and for acting as a means of being able to not only understand people but offer connection to others through story. And in 10th grade, we went on a trip to Edinburgh, Scotland to the Fringe Festival, and it was doing performances on like the Royal Mile there, which is all the performers come out to do so, and seeing this crowd of people and seeing the way that they were moved and affected by art, like what we were doing, I was like, oh no, I want to do this for life. I want to find a way to, change the world, I guess, through storytelling and through acting. Yeah.
Tonatiuh?
Honestly, very similar. I always joke around that the reason I got into acting was because it was a trauma response. I don't know, in a world that was constantly telling me that who I was wasn't palatable, I learned to code switch very quickly into different environments as a means of survival. And then in 8th grade, this acting troupe from the high school came over, and it was a bunch of weirdos. And I found my voice, and I learned that this little flesh body that I'm renting for a lifetime is malleable. And I could play with my voice, and I could play with accents, and I could play with clothes. And so it became this anthropomorphic experiment, how many different cultures could I fit into? And then it became this curiosity of other people in the world and an appreciation for good vibes and good music and good, everything. And so, but I never thought it was possible. My parents were immigrants, and so I was ready to become a lawyer. And my performing arts teacher just said, why don't you become an actor? You love it. And I literally responded with, that's possible. So I applied to 2 schools, and I got into one, and I said yes. And I just was an art fiend. I couldn't get enough of the art. I loved writing. It was my weapons. They armed me with a tongue that I didn't naturally have. And then I started working in TV and film, and that's when I was like, oh, I have an impact, and I have to be really responsible. And that's when it shifted, and I was like, oh. And then you hit 30, and you're like, I also need money, and now it's a business. So it's been an evolution, but I think the root of it was just the self-healing journey of love and healing through trauma.
Grace?
Such lovely answers. I feel like I'm I liked acting as a kid, and now I'm here. But I did it really was such a passion of mine at a young age, and I never really saw it as a career, not because I didn't love it, but because I think my dad is a director, and I saw the unpredictability of it, and that scared me, and I really didn't think that it was possible, something I could do, even though I looked up to it so much and I was so inspired by it. And I ended up going to a performing arts school as well, and that's when it really clicked for me. I was I couldn't imagine doing anything else, but I also couldn't imagine what steps I could take to get there. And I really didn't have faith in myself, and it really took graduating from high school and meeting my manager, who's in the audience today, to see something in me, and that helped see something in myself. And it took a while, to really realize, I took a gap year after high school because I wasn't sure if I wanted to take that leap, because I knew that leap came with hurt and rejection, and I think it was a defense mechanism for a while. But all of those things are so useful and really build you up, and it's so worth it when you get to work with amazing people and find your voice and learn about. It really helped me, yes, connect with other people, but also connect with myself. I feel like I didn't know necessarily how to express my emotions as a kid. I did it all through acting, and it was really a way to get in touch with certain parts of myself that I wasn't really capable of in real life. So in that way, it's really healing for me.
Beautiful. Tyriq?
Wow, such lovely answers. Well, so yeah, I grew up in 2 hours from here, from Jacksonville, Florida, in and out of Chicago, and I grew up in the sports world, and I think having a tough childhood, I think you yearn, for self-discovery, self-identity, and following up with what you said is I think I was looking for a way to heal myself, and I think my first want to act was seeing the Disney Channel games, and we all remember what that felt like. I wanted to be there. But being from Florida, you don't really have a direct path to the arts, from my experience. And I just kind of, always found a way to, express myself through whether it was like social media or, I started making my own vines. And if any of you find my vines, I will disappear. But yeah, that was like my first step into like filmmaking on a very much smaller scale. So I kept that up all the way through, high school, and then college. I ended up playing at Florida State on an Orange Bowl winning team, and I remember like not being happy. I got an Orange Bowl ring, and there was a first ever Black Student Union play, and I wanted to audition for that, and I skipped practice to go do that, and I turned to Will Smith, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air monologue into singing into a monologue, and I went and got the role, and I think that's when I fell in love with the art of coming together and telling a story that we all can relate to. And I didn't really follow it up. I was like a marketing major, which meant I was trying to graduate. And then I moved to Atlanta. A lot of my resume, Atlanta. So yeah, a lot of my resume ended up getting an agent, and one of my first big gigs was actually with Grace on Tell Me Lies, a recurring guest star. So, but yeah, I think when I realized I want to do this for the rest of my life is, I think it was 2021 when my brother passed away tragically, and I was always looking for a place to display, looking for a place for this pain and this grief to live outside of my body. And I think I pour that into my work from now on, and I think I've been doing it, I just didn't know. And now I'm at 27 years old, and I'm rediscovering my why I pursue this. And I think if I pour my pain, my hurt, my trauma, my happiness, my joy into my art, then I think it can help connect with other artists, other people, audience members, and help inspire. So, yeah.
What was the line on the resume?
Everything. I said I had this commercial coming out. I studied in this class. I did this short film. We just didn't get the footage yet. It's stupid. I got signed off of an Instagram skit that I did. The manager saw it. Was like, yeah, I didn't even look at your resume. So, and then she sent me a tape for a series regular audition. She was like, yeah, we need work. And I was like, okay.
But it's important. I mean, no one gets anywhere without a support system around them, or people, looking out for them in that way. Who are some people in your lives that have been either mentors that you've actually worked with, or interacted with, or people you've gotten to do scenes with, or even just that you look at in this industry as what people that you want to emulate or be like, either professionally or just because of their vibe? I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of what creatively fulfills you in terms of what you see out in the world.
I had the insane pleasure of working with Jamie Lee Curtis last summer, and as a girl, a teenager, that summer it was so important for that time in my life because she gave me so much, not only advice, but just wisdom and the way that she carried herself and how seriously she took the art of it and not just the sparkly side, the glamorous side is so fun, but I saw her be able to see it and see me for what was underneath everything, under the character, under the dress, all that stuff. It was really wonderful to be able to learn so much from her. And I remember on the press tour, which was this summer, which was wild. It's like nothing I've ever experienced before. She called me up to her room and she just had like a chat with me. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I could listen to her talk for so long. Because she said, she's like, I see you. I look at you and I see you. And I don't just see what you try to be, what you're trying to present yourself as. I see you for the art that you want to feed into this world in the short time that you're here. And I was like, oh God, because it's kind of scary to be seen like that. It's very, because part of what you do or what we do is we can hide in characters, and if we don't take the breaks and learn the blueprint of ourselves and who we really are, it's really tricky to find that. while filming or while doing a press tour. And I think that was just a really special moment for me to be really understood and taken so seriously at such a young age by someone that important. It was really wonderful.
That is really
beautiful.
For me, my first role model in life was Eartha Kitt.
Hell yeah.
And seeing her as a kid, I was just like, oh my God, like she's so unapologetic, she's so bold, she's so in herself, in her body, and plows through anything in every room. And that was something that initially inspired me, I think, just as a woman, as a Black woman in this world. And then coming into the industry, there's so many people that I think that have inspired me. One in particular, those Giancarlo Esposito I got to work with. And the legend that he is, and this vivaciousness of energy that he has. Like the first time I met him, before we started working, he sat down with me for like 3 hours. We had a lunch, and he just gave me all kinds of game on the industry, on how to carry myself, on taking, especially I think as a person of color in this industry, which can be quite hard at times, the industry will very much can put roadblocks up or try to make you small. And he, I think, seconded the example that I already had from Eartha Kitt of like, don't let them do that. Be bold, be as much as you want to be. And then in the creative process, like working with him, and he played my father. And with every scene, like stopping to have connection, making sure that we were here, that we were centered, that we'd start every day, like giving eye to eye, taking as long as we needed to connect, and being present with each other. And like that is what, because I had experiences prior to that of, which sometimes happens, of some actors being selfish and sort of just being in their own world, and which, you know, everybody has their own process, but that was something that I learned from theater, of like, no, we're doing this together, we're in this together. And so to have that reinforced by such a legend of like, no, like this is, I feel like our job as actors is to be the most human. And I feel like that can be forgotten sometimes with the glamorous part of things, with the, you know, being in the public eye and things, but a stage should be a safe place. And for him to, just reinforce that and bolster that up was something that I was like, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I take this into every set, even with people that may be uncomfortable or shy or things like that, of like, hey, I'm here with you, you need anything, I need anything, like, let's work this together.
That was beautiful. Just on the glamour part, just because I brought up a couple times, in college, I remember one of my professors say, we sell glamour, we do not live glamorous lives. And it's really important to, especially because so many of you are students, to center yourself in that reality. And really find a definite why as to your reason for going into this, because it's not easy. And I've had a lot of teachers. I kind of have adopted this mentality that I'm a perpetual student, and the day that I stop learning is the day that I die.
Yes.
And if you think that you know everything, please leave. But no, I've been humbled to witness some incredible masters at their work. Bill Condon, I'm shooting a film with him and seeing how he understands not just musical but cinema as well has been a legend. I got to sing John Cander's music. The man is 98 and has written some of the most iconic music of all times, and how he views the world. It's almost like a savant way of seeing it. And so it's just like, find the people who are obsessed with this one little thing and just allow them to talk and just absorb whatever you can. Like, makeup artists fascinate me. Everybody just does. And you know, witnessing Jennifer Lopez as well, like watching her strike. It was like watching lightning strike. It's witnessing how she carries a performance even outside, right? Like we're dressed and selling this almost essence and creating a character outside of all of ourselves. But the fun part, especially if you're an artist, is who do I get to say that I want to be? Like, who do I get to decide that I am? And who do I want you to know me to be? And so, especially at a young age, like, it'll change, obviously. You said that your why is changing, but define that for yourself. Write it on paper. If your name could have a definition, having that written down and live by that North Star until you say, I'm done with that, and you shed it. You go through a molting process and you become someone new again.
I feel like I've been inspired by so many people I've worked with. I would say just in the fact of like pure work ethic. I worked with Nicole Kidman, who is like at the top of everything, and he's done the most amazing movies and most amazing performances, and the fact that she still works as hard as she did as when she started is so inspiring to me, and I hope I continue to work this hard forever, because it shows how passionate she is still. And that was so beautiful to watch. It was not what I was expecting. Going onto a set with her and thinking that it was just, she's so talented, she should just flip on the switch and it's there. No, she's like constantly working at it and thinking about it and living it and changing her process with each job and discovering things. And like you said, you just keep learning.
Yeah.
Like that's the only thing. You wanna always feel like a beginner, or find ways to feel like a beginner constantly at every which I just think I just was really inspired by that and hope to kind of do that as well. And also the producing side that she has, she's just like paving the way for other young women to come in and be inspired by that. I'm so inspired by her finding her own projects and kind of creating her own reality, which was just so powerful. She's a force.
Adding on to that, I'd like to give somebody their flowers. So some of you all are students here, and I remember transitioning to Atlanta, and somebody who really I got to witness work as a recurring guest star was Grace Van Patten. So no. So like, I'm not just being cheesy, but like, when you walk on a set and you are like bottom of the call sheet and you don't have any business hanging with the cast, that's how you feel, and I'm very new to this, and you don't remember what everyone always says to you, but you always remember how they make you feel.
Absolutely.
And Grace has always shown me nothing but love and acceptance, and she's included me in like group chats and with the series regs of the show. And you invited me to the July 4th like celebration. I think the pajama party. And it was always love, a smile, and I think watching somebody put a show on their back and you do it so gracefully. You see Grace gracefully. Do it so gracefully, during a pandemic as well. And nobody talks about that, starting a career and continuing a show during a pandemic. That was a whole different process of things. So I always said if I ever got the opportunity to lead something, you were one of the first that I got to witness. And I carry what you've taught me in every other set. So I just want to say thank you for that.
There are a lot of ups and downs in a career like the ones you all have chosen.
Girl.
It's a constant job search. Even if you're super successful, it's a constant job search. There's repeated no's left and right, and sometimes yeses turn into no's. Sometimes no's turn into yeses. Sometimes you have the worst auditions of your life, and you walk out of there saying I should leave. How do you all navigate that? And does anyone have any? We always love asking this question on regular. Does anyone have any like audition horror stories that they'd be willing to share?
Sorry, I'm a statistics guy, so I love acting and art, but I love stats a lot. I love gameplay a lot. And I did this number because I have an audition log of every audition I've been on since 2011. And I've worked for the last 12 years. I've sustained my entire life. I don't have a day job apart from just working as an artist. It took 1,130 auditions before I was the lead of my own film. 1,130 auditions. And I've had, I think, probably like 20 solid jobs, but only 5 of them moved the needle in some kind of way. Jane the Virgin, I was a co-star. Viva, I was a recurring guest star. Promised Land, I was a series regular on ABC, and Carry On, I was a supporting and a lead, and now Kiss the Spider-Man. But it took 1,130 auditions, so if you don't get comfortable as students now with the word no, please leave. I'm serious, it's not a sprint. For some people, it's their first audition, they skyrocket, and it's amazing, and that's incredible. But again, you need a strong why. You need a strong why to push you through it. And there are secret angels everywhere. This moment is a secret angel moment. Like, she graced his life, but impacted that level of kindness and speaking volumes and speaking worlds of people who aren't in the room when they're not in the room is like super important. Especially when you're come from a marginalized community, whether you're LGBTQ or a person of color, if you don't have nepotism, like, it helps to build a bigger table.
That's great. Wait, when you look back on those stats, are you like, is it painful or is it comforting? Are you like, oh, this gives me like a bird's eye view of, like, how does it feel looking at those?
It felt like it couldn't have come at any other time.
Right.
It, like, God doesn't make mistakes.
It's your map.
Yeah, it's just my map.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I learned so much about so many different aspects, and I got to mine those things, because if I was gifted this opportunity at, let's say, 20, girl, that was a mess. I don't think I could have handled it with as much grace as that I do have now at 32.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I have a lot of people, like parents, that come up to me and ask me, like, I want to get my kid into acting. How do I do that? Because I know you've been acting since you were really young. And I'm like, well, I always say, what do they want to do? And they say, oh, he really likes drawing. He kind of wants to be like an animator. Or, oh, he or she really likes, for some reason I can't think of any job ever right now. That's what happens. But, oh yeah, like my daughter wants to be an engineer. And it's like, then that is exactly what they should do. You should not have to force or let anyone push you into something that you don't have. If you really want something, there will be nothing that will come between you and the goal of having it. And I think that is such an important thing, is your own comfort and your own advice, and you really have to be your own cheerleader, because there's so many no's, and I've dealt with hundreds. I've been auditioning since I was 4, and there's been a countless, the pandemic. The pandemic and the self-tapes. Oh my God, the self-tapes. Yeah. So it's so important that you have such a solidified dream, and you really have to make sure that you're confident in it. And if you don't have that yet, it will come. It's possible that you haven't found it yet, but you do have to be really, really passionate to deal with that waiting, because it's so hard, but there's no telling if it's going to happen or not. And I think that if you are so passionate about it, there's nothing that can come between you and that dream. I always say I'm either really employed or really unemployed, because being an actor, you gotta wait, and then all of a sudden you can't hang out with any of your friends because you're super busy. You got the early call times, you might be filming in at Toronto. So I think that just being your own cheerleader and having a great support system around you is really, really important.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I definitely agree with that, and as well as like the big thing of having a why. When I was in high school, in theater school, our theater department head, he was like, "You will get 100 no's for every yes." And so instilling with that idea already, I was like, okay, well then that's fine. And then on top of that, loving the entire process of it. Like that, for me, every audition is just a fun time to learn and or try something new. So that now no matter what happens, whether I get a no or a yes of like a full job from that, it's like, okay, but if I just enjoy this part, then everything else after that is now a surprise and a gift. And it just keeps getting better. But just enjoying every piece of it and not being, how do I put that in words? Like, if you, to Julia's point, if you love yourself and love what you're doing, that no means nothing. And really, the no means nothing regardless, because sometimes it's not about your talent. It's not about, you know, how good you actually did on the audition. It's the way you look, how tall you are. That it's
a puzzle.
Exactly.
It's a puzzle, and there's different pieces that fit and don't.
Exactly. Like, so it's so truly just make sure that you love the entire process of this world, because it's like, and don't take rejection ever as a reflection on yourself.
Yeah, don't tie it to your self-worth.
Exactly.
You cannot tie it to your self-worth.
You absolutely cannot. Because this industry is fickle and very, what's the word? Not superficial, but that
transactional.
Yes, very transactional. So making sure that you have a full life, that you're enjoying life aside from just this thing, that's not your entire world, but just a playground you get to play in. I think that's the most important thing. Yeah.
I kind of view the term no as, it might sound like corny, but next opportunity.
Absolutely.
I think I kind of like getting rejected. I've gotten so used to it.
Let's unpack that.
Rejection therapy. No, I just kind of put yourself out there, and I think I don't know what actor said this, so I don't want to say this is my quote, but they said, if you want to learn about acting, forget about acting. And that always like stuck with me, because it wasn't until I started living the full life of who I wanted to be. Like I was in therapy, and my therapist, yes, I'm therapizing.
Yes.
My therapist was like, "What do you do to heal the inner child? You like what's something you do?" And I was like, I don't know. You know, you kind of as an actor, you're like, "Oh, this next audition is mine, and my life will be different." And but then, yeah, I just sat back and was like, I don't know what I want to do. And I think when I started to want to become like a better friend or a better son or a better uncle, live a holistic life, go on walks, on hikes, and I think we're living the dream right now. And I think the same passion I had when I like lit up and I was editing my own YouTube videos on my iPhone and making the thumbnail and posting it to the world, I still feel the same way when I'm making an audition versus when I'm on set with Donald Glover directed me or Jordan Peele's on set, you know. And I think that feeling never goes away. And the most important thing is the climb, quoting Miley Cyrus.
Hell yeah!
There's always going to be a voice inside the head saying you won't make it. That's anxiety, but you will. So shout out Miley Cyrus.
The Disney fandom runs deep in you.
Yes, I love it.
But you mentioned, you know, when you were creating YouTube videos, social media is a huge part of this industry, and I see a varying degree of reactions there. You know, it's no secret that casting directors now sometimes won't see people if they don't have a certain number of followers on a certain platform. How do you all manage trying to make sure that you're able to focus on the work, but knowing that there is this whole, Tonatiuh, you said it beautifully earlier, that you're selling this image of glamour, even if that's not your life, but that's what social media is for most people. It's you know, trying to show their best and most polished selves. But how do you all look at social media and how it impacts your career?
Social media is kind of terrifying, honestly. I mean, I'm very young and I'm on it, and it's very scary. I think it's a beautiful thing too, because you can connect with people, but the way that my mind works, it is also very transactional, like you were saying. This is also social media, pretty much. All that we're doing right here is also social media. I got this sweater on a college campus floor, and I washed it and took it home, and I'm wearing it now. In front of
Hell
everyone.
yeah.
So,
And I have to get this outfit back once I get back to LA.
exactly. So I think that, I don't know, it's been so interesting growing up and finding out who you are, but also who you want to present yourself as. It's so weird. It's very strange, but I think I'll always be growing into myself, and until I die, I will be thinking, who am I, who do I want to become, and how am I representing myself best in the most healthy way for me. But it's insane growing up with friends in the industry. You see them evolve, you see them change. It's scary, but honestly, finding people that don't have the same goal as me has also really helped. I know a lot of people that are not in the industry, and they ground me, because it's very overwhelming, but it's insanely worth it to a point where I feel like if I'm living my dream and I'm doing what I want to do, it's definitely worth it. But navigating social media, especially at the age I'm at now, it's tricky. It's very tricky. I didn't run my own account for so long, and I only picked it up for the press tour. And that was crazy. I started kind of derealizing, actually. Like, I would be talking to an interviewer, and I remember this one moment I was sitting right next to Lindsay Lohan, and exactly. I was sitting next to her, and I was looking at her, and then all of a sudden it dawned on me that I was really there, and I was living my dream, and it was all happening, but it felt so surreal because it's just unfathomable to be able to be so lucky. It's also kind of eerie. But I think that is just teaching me, if you ever feel lost, it's just you finding yourself more. Like if you don't know who you are yet and you feel thrown, it's literally just you getting to know the body that you're in and the person that you're becoming. So I never really feel lost. I just feel like it's another step. But it's super hard to feel that way and convince yourself that that's true. So I think social media is a great thing. It's a beautiful thing where people can market and connect and feel seen. But you also have to have a balance and know when enough is enough, and put that screen time on your phone sometimes, because that's how it has to be. But yeah, that's my very young take on social media.
I used to, when it comes to social media, I used to be bitter when it came to acting side of it, when like not having a social media following, and they cast somebody and it was like 2 million followers.
Yeah.
But those statistics don't equal quality. So now I'm at a place where, if they want to cast somebody because of followers, that wasn't the project for me.
Right.
And I think the best person always gets the job. On the acting side, that's what I can speak to. And I try not to live in that, and and I use social media. Wait, do you know what Vine is?
Oh yes.
Just making sure. Sorry. Yeah, social media we use as a tool now, and to get it's like a billboard to me as a person, and I think there's a healthy way to use social media. I'm so sorry.
I want to be like, do you know what a floppy disk is?
Well, yeah, that's my kind of young take on social media.
But I will say, that just to that point, they can hire a social media person, that's totally fine, but can that social media person turn into multiple characters, run a department, and deliver under budget for a corporation? I don't think so. So by all means, go do that. And it feels combative because it is one of those things where it's like, no, I've crafted a business and I've crafted an art. And that's what you're getting when you go with me, right? But the fun part of social media, I think if your outcome is be famous, you're gonna be miserable. Because unless you get the massive amounts of following, you're going to start attacking yourself for not delivering on an impossible deliverable. But if the outcome is to have fun, like you creating your vines was for you, right?
They really
And did you enjoy it? And so then it becomes a thing where it's like, oh, what fun can I have on here? And if you're a chronic people pleaser like myself, shout out people pleasers. But if you're a chronic people pleaser, I think you're going to start hating yourself if you're not delivering on this impossible dream. And so if it really becomes about just pleasing your own artistic integrity and like having fun with it, turning it into something, like I really enjoy gaming, and I love
Call of Duty?
No, more so board games and strategy, like escape rooms. Although Legend of Zelda, every time. But that being said, like when we opened our premiere, I gifted out tickets. I hid tickets at the Grove. I turned it into an experience. Yeah, literally that. And or I would be like, here are the coordinates where I will be. Good luck finding me. You know what I mean? Like maybe nobody played, maybe some people did, but it was fun for me to do that, and it became like a thing. So just have fun.
I did that scavenger hunt one time for a first date. Didn't end well.
She's still looking for him now.
With social media, so I just don't do it very much. My team sometimes hates me for it.
Your team will hate you for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I had a really bad introduction to social media. One of my very close friends, who's like a sister to me, she works in the industry as well, and her career sort of started before mine. I was living with her at the time, and she got really consumed by social media and had a suicide attempt. And that was so terrifying to me because she was like a big sister to me and one of the strongest people that I knew, and I was like, if this thing could tear you down, like, how am I gonna? And so yeah, it immediately put my relationship with social media to be like, this is not a good fit. This is, I think that for some people, you know, it works, for some industries it works, and it was supposed to be a beautiful thing for people to connect through, but I think that it is, and this is, I'm a cynic, I think, when it comes to social media, that there's just such fallacy in it, and the pressure of people to present themselves in the most perfect way. Like, I feel like not often do you see a lot of people show bare bones self, or that it's always it feels like a performance. It feels like, and I think for me that's always really scary to me, that I'm like, I perform for my job, like I have to be on a lot of the time. Like, it's like this thing, I don't want to do it to please anybody, and and so in that way, I would like to find a better relationship with social media to be able to present my most genuine. So I'm a very in-person person. Like, I'm not a great texter. My family and friends know that. One of my cousins is in the audience now. She knows that. I like FaceTime, and I like to be in person with people. So when I get opportunities like this, like to sit in front of people, or if I get to do meet and greets and actually talk to people, like, I'm like, that's where you're going to get me. Because I think that the soul is a intangible connector that is a critical piece of connection. But I think for those of you who do have social media, and it's like, yes, the industry does use it, but to Tyriq's point, like, you don't have to regard it in the same way that the industry does. You don't have to, there's probably been tons of jobs that I've lost because somebody had more following than me. Do I care? No, because it's like, yeah, if that's what you wanted, then fine. Like, then, you know, my talent will speak for itself. When you want to tell a story that comes from heart and not the views or the simulation, essentially, like, then we can talk. But yeah, use it for fun. Don't feel the pressure of the world putting on you that this is what you need to be successful and get ahead. Like, no, what is for you will not pass you. So just drive toward that, and everything else will fall in line.
When we talk about rejection, it's like that, the type of rejection that's involved with social media is not useful, I don't think. Like, I really do think rejection can be useful with getting no's and not getting certain jobs, and and you can grow from that. And the rejection you feel with social media just feels like you just feel bad about yourself. You feel excluded. You feel whatever it is. And I don't know what you take from that type of rejection and build.
Some people do share their bare selves on social media and they still get that rejection.
Yeah.
And that is so damaging, and that doesn't mold a person in a good way. That kind of just tears people down.
Yeah.
And I can't even.
You're like your wise words. You find your why. And that too. It's like, do it for fun, or do it because if you're doing it for a job, then do that. Use it as promotion, or do it for fun. But find your reasoning, because that's when you get hurt and you get confused.
I said I was thinking do it for the vine too.
Honestly, sometimes you just gotta do it for the vine. Every acting job is unique, but
You wanted to say something.
fine. He's just humming Miley Cyrus to himself.
We're gonna have to all sing the climb when we leave. Okay.
Every acting job is unique, but I want to open this up in a second, but start with Grace and Julia. You both recently, in different ways, played someone we know already in life. And I'd love to start there, but then I'm going to broaden this to the rest of you in a second. Did that change your process in any way of like attempting a character that we know either as a human being or as a character that we've known from a movie forever?
It's a different process that I really learned from. I played Amanda Knox, who was wrongfully convicted of murdering her roommate in 2007, and she was involved with this project. And it was by far the most nervous I had ever been, because there's a certain pressure and weight that I absolutely felt, but also was giving myself kind of the ability to relax into that and find my own version. And when I met her and she was so collaborative with that and wanted me to bring myself into it, was such a relief, because I didn't feel that pressure from her. But it's totally a different approach to it, an approach I really, really loved. Just finding the specifics in someone. It's just, my favorite performances to watch is when you watch someone, they just feel like somebody you could have met, a real existing human that you feel like you can interact with, and you feel like you know who they are. And with playing a real person, it was such a great opportunity to take those specifics and make it feel like a three-dimensional, living, breathing human being. And that's what I like to do with every character I play. But this was, there were the bones already that I got to kind of build from, which was really, really special and really cool.
The press tour that I went on this summer was a very marketing, social media press tour, kind of like what we were just talking about. And I remember being completely thrown during the press tour, because during the actual process of filming, it felt so organic, it felt so raw and natural. And I remember part of that press tour was realizing or wondering if people would be receptive to me playing a character that people grew up with. I was playing a mom of a teenager. I was playing my own mother. And it was so interesting and collaborative to be able to blend a story with someone like that, because I was doing it with Lindsay, and she was so excited to be on this project, and I was so excited, and she was excited to be back, and I was nervous to do it for the first time. And we played the same two characters, and that's something I think about so much, is we really did share both characters. She got to create her, image of what the teenage character was, and I got to collaborate on what the mom would be like now after so many years had passed since the first, not too many years had passed, but after enough years had passed from the first movie. And it was so great to be able to connect with her for the first time like that, but also during the press tour when we were collaborating and sitting next to each other and grounding each other, and she's a wonderful person, she's a mother, and I get such a healing presence from her. She's incredible. But it was really, really special to be able to share something like that with a person. One day if I do, a biopic, it'll be a similar process where it's picking up mannerisms. How would they act in this scenario? How would they react to this being said to them? And I can't imagine how difficult it is if the person is no longer alive, because you don't get to sit down and have that conversation with them. But I can't wait to see what happens next and go forward and see if that happens for me. But it really does connect you so much to the character you're playing if they were a real thing that you have seen and watched a little bit and gotten to observe. It's really, really interesting.
And all of you on this panel recently have tackled projects that have a beloved fandom in some way or another, whether it's video game adaptations in various forms, a hit Broadway musical that wasn't also a film before, a beloved horror franchise, or a book adaptation. Do you look at that past project a lot? Do you try to completely ignore it? How do you all handle taking on something that has an ingrained history already?
Well, if we're talking about process specifically, as soon as I get a job, my first job is to talk to the director and see what visual references are they going to make, if any, right? And of course they're going to be inspired by something. And so Bill wrote me a syllabus of every musical that he was going to reference in his movie, from Singing in the Rain to Les Girls, Cabaret. And so then the construction of our film was such that we had a 1950s style musical and then a Argentinian dictatorship as the backdrop, as our centering piece, right? And so then it was crafting like how many, because I'm a cinephile through and through. So I just went back to watch some of my favorite films, and so I was like, oh, I want to have like a Gene Kelly exterior, but then who is a closeted, tortured soul in the 1950s, 40s realm? And I was like, Montgomery Clift. And I watched one of my favorite movies, The Heiress, and I was like, oh, that is like the emotional channel for it. And studying their micro expressions, their even now like having a conversation with the hair department and being like, I want Errol Flynn's hair, just to get that essence again. And then when you zoom out, you're like, oh, okay, well, this is the story that I want to tell. How do I achieve it? Like Molina, the other character that I played, is a prisoner in a dictatorship, so I lost 45 pounds in 50 days. And it was like, okay, well, if we're gonna start shooting at this time, how do I get there in a safe way? It wasn't safe. But how do I get there as safe as possible for the craft and to tell this person's lived experience? And so, I don't know, that's kind of the way that I get into that world.
For me, with the video games, like with The Last of Us, well, for Uncharted, my character wasn't in the game, so I was like, okay, well, I'm building this entirely myself. For The Last of Us, yeah, like, and I think in both cases, like, because The Last of Us, my character is in the games. Craig, our showrunner, Craig Mason, he didn't want us to play the game. If we hadn't already played it, he didn't want us to play because he didn't want us to take from. He's like, we're doing our own thing, so don't. Yeah, I play the games anyways, just because I like video games, and two, I wanted to get a feel for just the world that we were playing in. But as far as like Nora, I was like, no, like I'm gonna give her own life. Like I'm not going to, all I need are the elements of the world that she's living in. I talked to Craig a lot about where, as far as what she was representing as sort of a idea on a spectrum, serving this story of revenge and morality, and brought all of those things into her, but I didn't feel though I know that there was going to be pressure from the fact that it's like, oh, we're bringing this, like, yeah, this beloved video game to life, like, that wasn't in my mind. Like, I put it completely out of it. I'm like, I'm just gonna give you the truest version of this story, the truest version of this person. I'm a very spiritual person too, so I treat all of my characters as if they are real souls in the ether, and I just offer them a vessel. And so in that way, if I'm focusing just there and wanting to tell their story to the best of my ability, then that is bound to touch someone. And I saw that even through, so I did a film called Screams That Earls All You Can Eat, and I had to share a character similarly with Sanaa Lathan, who's a wonderful, wonderful woman. She has a similar process of sort of treating characters in a spiritual fashion. We did not discuss any, other than like having maybe an hour conversation before my first day on set, and I had to play the character first. We didn't discuss anything else. We saw her in the same sort of way. She was never shown any footage or anything of my performance, and somehow we still emulated down to mannerisms and things like that, the exact same person. So yeah, it was trippy, bro. What is this? It's called The Supremes That Earls All You Can Eat. It's a Hulu film. Yeah, it was. That's tight. Like, so yeah, like, I don't know. It tripped me. I was like, that's so tight. So I think just like trying to be. They used to say this to us in school, like, acting is being truthful and honest in imaginary circumstances. It's, if you focus on just being as truthful and as honest as possible, Grace, to your point, even with playing a man and not to bringing yourself into that, just being truthful and honest, being full, like, it's the pressure of trying to plead or trying to impress or whatever the case is lifted immediately. Like, yeah.
Totally. And it's about capturing, like, an essence, not necessarily, because it was, like, my biggest fear to, like, have it seem like some, like, SNL impersonation or something. If I started, like, capturing every, mannerism, I think there are little things you can take, but it was, like, important to capture, like, the essence of this human that lived in this world and make people feel the way that, like, they could feel speaking to her, not like that's exactly like her life or whatever. Like, those moments are cool, but
yeah, I think for me, I know what you did last summer, and there's a lot of freedom in that, where the director wanted me to bring me to the role, and I think a lot of that movie was won in the audition process. That's the only movie I've done in-person auditions for. It's like 4 rounds of in-person audition on the Sony lot. So by the time I booked it, I was like, well, like, I'm gonna just do what I did in the audition room and just be free. I'm like, damn near doing backflips in front of Jennifer, the director. But yeah, I think, I always try to keep that river of honesty, truthfulness. I serve as a vessel, and I think the beauty about acting is you show up and all you can do is your best. And having done a book adaptation to a film, Reminders of Him coming out next year. That one was a bit tricky because I do have privilege in that it's a fiction book and it's not a real person, but it's scary because these people romanticize the idea of who the character Ledger, who I played, is, and it's scary, but yeah, there's like a couple mannerisms you try to pick up on, and whenever you read a scene, you like go back to the chapter and reread it, but like you can't put everything into the script, so it got a bit too chaotic and cerebral, and I think my job as an actor is just to bring the director's vision and dream to fruition, and I just lived in that, and I think the less I thought about he likes the taste of apples, or he points a lot, the less I thought about that, the more truthful I was to myself, and you started to see that, like, the cadence, the essence of my character kind of it flowed with who he was in the book, and having the author on set every day, she was happy, I was happy, so it didn't matter, and the director just having that healthy organic relationship with with your filmmakers. I think that's important, and I think the less is more in my mind when I did that film, and hopefully you all like it.
Well, you mentioned the power of showing up, so I want to thank you all for showing up here today, and thank you all for showing up here today. If you're not familiar with the project today we're just talking about, please make yourself familiar with them. Fantastic work all around. Please enjoy the rest of the festival, but for now, just let's give them one more round of applause. As we get the Is the climb ready? Yeah, the climb will be playing as we walk.